Good afternoon to my garden and welcome to a Calvinian architecture. I only have a limited time in which to make these readings, and therefore sometimes I have to pick and choose. I can't do the entire reading of a chapter because there isn't enough time. So today I'm jumping between first octave, 8th chapter, despina, and then I'm going to the second octave, and the second chapter is Auda. This is verse 2 of the first octave. The keynote is Do, the colour is red. It's the 8th chapter, and the city is Despina. Quite a while ago now, nearly 30 years ago, I drove to Brisbane via the Newell Highway through the back of New South Wales, up through the north of Victoria. The combi was filled with drawings of a dozen or so artists to install at the IMA in Brisbane. The show was called Drawing Some Definitions. Anyway, I travelled through the night 24 hours straight, and from the Victorian border all the way to Warwick, I drove through an electrical storm, a lightning strike every few seconds, it seemed. No rain, not a drop, just dry electricity. At first I was terrified. I didn't know whether to stop or to go on. Then I thought, if I stop, I'll get it anyway. Maybe. So I drove on, at first tentatively. At each strike, I'd close my eyes, then slowly I picked up speed. Then I started yelling, just quietly, and then more and more boldly. The last 300 kilometres, I was yelling at the top of my lungs. I can't even remember what I was saying. Talking, screaming, daring the strikes to get me to strike the car, blow it sky high, but it just kept going. Endlessly, it seemed. And then I limped into Warwick at sunrise, stopped on the side of the road. Beautiful dawn, scarlet red it was, calm as you like, and I slept the best sleep of my life. Awoke sometime later, drove into Brisbane, touching my skin, getting little static shocks, beaming. Everything seemed so bright, so luminous. I sometimes think of that night, wondering what kept the thousands of lightning strikes away from the car. Was it the defiance, the screaming? Was it an impossibility anyway? Was it chance? Was it order? Was it yet one more definition of drawing? This is the first story in the second octave, or the first couple of stories. I'm reading you verse 3. Verse 1 is too long. It's the second octave. The keynote is Re. The colour is orange. It's the first chapter, and the city is Zirma. Verse 3. There's an island off the coast of Maine called Mount Desert Island, named by a French captain in the 17th century. He saw its bald hills and named it the Island of the Deserted Mountains. It's the highest landfall north of Rio de Janeiro. Its pink granite rocks get the first morning sun in the whole of the US. So misty and hazy that when the fog sets in after a few seconds, you can't see your nose. Then it clears just as fast. The tides are dramatic, 3 or 4 meters that cover everything, then uncover everything. There's a little cottage on the island's southwest harbour that looks out onto the swaying boats in a cove. It's got a big Norwegian potbelly stove in the living room and a huge cedar deck with a glass-topped table, 4 iron chairs, dark green pines all around. The little cove freezes up in winter so that its icy surface reflects the passing clouds. I saw a badger once walk past the table, cool as you like. The bed is a high iron frame, soft mattress, looks out onto water too, and there's a small guest cottage at the end of a covered walkway. In the shed next to it, there's a small wooden boat, shiny, glazed, with oars in it. A bicycle hangs upside down to its left. Up above the shed on the rise, there's a new garage, a great empty space with firewood stacked up in an alcove running along its side. There's more green pines outside. It's always quiet. The water softens everything. The mist rises and falls like a breathing. Some beige cardigans hang in the wardrobe, woolen coats, shoes lined up, hats. The floors are slate, the walls wooden, big glass windows in the living room. A path goes down to a long wooden jetty. The boat can be launched from here. And if you turn around then and look back towards the house, you can see on your right a rocky ledge made of pink granite. Someone's carved out a little platform and placed a wicker seat facing east towards the harbour. Above it, a date, 12/7/28. You can see the fishing boats coming in past Baker Island from here through the mist rolling in through the sunrise. You can't see the ledge from the house. You can only see it with your back to the sea. I thought about Arthur Danto and the idea of beauty here. The idea of beauty, I kept saying to myself as I looked out to the bobbing boats and the mist making crazy effects with a row of lights along the pier. And while I listened to the loons, I thought about Raymond Carver's last days at Port Angeles. The light's the same, somebody said. Same as what? I thought. Over the next few days, I considered beauty at odd moments, and sometimes sitting, looking at the water and the skies for hours. And all I could say to myself afterwards was, well, what about it? What about beauty? That was a song, a story, a song too, about a house I would have wanted to live in. And the previous story was about a journey. Winter's here, very different, no mist, no loons, no frozen lake. Thank you for sharing once more these moments of strangeness. I value your presence here. Until tomorrow. Second octave, second chapter is Aura. Until then.